Hey guys, tonight we journey into the heart of myth, where creatures rise from the mist, howling in the dead of night. We're talking about a beast aloud, misunderstood force that was banished from its home because its cries were too much to bear. But as you settle in, let me warn you, you probably won't survive this without jumping at least once. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And hey, go ahead and drop your location and local time in the comments. I love knowing where you were listening from. Now, dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. Deep in the ancient forests, where the trees are so thick they seem to swallow the sky, there's a legend, one that has been passed from one generation to the next. It's about a creature. Some call it a monster, others a god of sorts who was so loud, so utterly impossible to ignore that the gods themselves decided it had to be banished. Why? Because the noise was unbearable. It was the kind of sound that shook villages to their very core, rattling windows and waking up the dead. Imagine thunder, mixed with a scream that pierced the air, enough to break the spirit of anyone within earshot. And no, it wasn't a storm. It was the cry of the mythical beast. But that's not where the story starts. No, this creature's tale begins long before the first villager ever heard its roar. You see, this beast was born in a time so ancient, it's become more of a whispered secret than a recorded history. Its origins. Historians still argue whether it was created by nature, birthed from the earth itself, or whether it was a being made of pure sound, crafted by forgotten gods as an instrument of chaos. But one thing is for sure, it wasn't always feared. It was a part of the land, blending with the forest's heartbeat, a creature that belonged. The sound it made wasn't always a curse. In the beginning, it was the language of the land, the cries of a being that communicated with the trees, the rivers, and the mountains. There was a time when the beast was heard in the same way a bird is heard in the morning familiar, comforting even. But that changed. As humans began to populate the surrounding areas, the beast's voice began to feel different. It was louder, wilder, and it seemed to grow with every season that passed. Some said it was the creature itself growing stronger as it aged. Others whispered about a curse that bound the beast to the land, a curse that made it grow louder, more demanding, till it became the force of nature it was destined to be. It wasn't long before the villagers took notice. The first time they heard it, they thought it was thunder. But then the storms came and the sound remained. It wasn't thunder. It was something else. Something worse. There were stories, of course. People told tales of the beast, of its voice that carried through the trees and shook the walls of homes. Those stories passed down from one generation to the next, became more and more exaggerated. But still, the sound had never stopped. As the years passed, the villagers tried to ignore it, chalking it up to strange weather patterns, perhaps. But as time went on, there was no denying it. The beast was no longer a creature of the forest. It was a terror. People would wake in the middle of the night, their hearts pounding in their chests, only to hear that sound horrible, deafening, unrelenting. It wasn't just the loudness that rattled them. It was the feeling that something ancient and unknowable, was just outside their door. Something that wanted to be heard. It was the kind of sound that shook you to the core, a shriek that made the very air tremble. It left a heavy silence in its wake, like the world itself was holding its breath. Historians still argue about when the first real sign of fear appeared. Some say It was the night the first man disappeared into the forest, never to return. Others say it was when a child, no older than 5, wandered out into the trees, drawn by the voice of the creature. But it wasn't just the people of the village that feared the sound. The animals, too, began to change. The birds stopped singing, and the wolves howled in terror. Even the trees seemed to whisper among themselves, their branches swaying in ways that felt unnatural. Soon the beast became a legend in its own right, a creature so terrifying that people started building their homes farther and farther apart, till entire communities were swallowed by the forest. It wasn't enough to run, wasn't enough to hide. No matter how far you went, the beast was always there. Echoing through the night, a relentless reminder that something lived in the shadows, something that couldn't be reasoned with. It wasn't just the villagers who feared it. The elders, the keepers of ancient knowledge, knew that something had to be done. They gathered together in secret, speaking of a ritual, a banishment that would rid the world of the beast once and for all. They believed that the creature was a product of a forgotten time, a creature that no longer belonged in the world of men. They spoke of its cries as a warning, a signal that the balance had been broken. Historians still debate whether the elders were right in trying to rid the world of the creature. But one thing is certain, their decision to banish it would forever alter the fate of the beast. The decision to banish the beast wasn't taken lightly. In the deepest hours of the night, when the moon hung high and the air was thick with the weight of ancient secrets, the village elders gathered around their sacred fire, the flames flickering like the last remnants of a fading world. Their faces were shrouded in shadow, their expressions grim as they deliberated the fate of the creature, whose roar had become as much a part of the land as the mountains themselves. They spoke not of killing the beast, that was impossible. No, what they planned was far more dangerous. They would banish it. You might think that banishment would be a mercy of sorts, but not for this beast. It was indeed some simple exile. It was a forceful severance from the very land it had come to call home. The ritual was set to take place at the stroke of midnight, when the world was at its darkest and the beast's cries would be at their loudest. The ritual, they said, would require more than just incantations and spells. It would require a sacrifice, the kind that no one in the village was prepared to give. The elders argued for hours, long enough that their voices became hoarse, until finally they reached an agreement. The beast would be cast away, but the price would be high. Historians still debate whether the elders had truly understood the gravity of their decision. Some say they underestimated the beast's power, believing that a mere ritual would be enough to quell the noise. Others argue that the elders had no choice, that they were simply trying to restore peace to a world that had been irrevocably disturbed. But either way, the decision was made. The night of the ritual arrived, and the air was thick with tension. The entire village gathered in the center, encircling the sacred fire as the elders chanted their ancient incantations. There was no turning back now. The beast was already near, its roar shaking the earth beneath their feet. With each passing second, the sound grew louder, more desperate. It was as if the beast knew what was coming. It wasn't a cry of terror, it was a cry of defiance. It was challenging them, daring them to try and silence it. The ritual began in earnest, the elders moving in a tight circle, their hands raised to the heavens. As they chanted, the earth trembled beneath them, the ground pulsing with an unnatural energy. The wind howled, and the flames of the fire danced wildly, casting erratic shadows on the faces of the villagers. The beast's roar grew louder still, as though it was mocking them, and with each note, the earth seemed to shake more violently. The villagers stood in awe and fear, watching as the ritual unfolded before them.
Oh no.
Knowing that they were witnessing something ancient, something that had never been done before. As the ritual reached its peak, the sound of the beast's cry reached a crescendo. It was no longer a roar. It was an all-encompassing sound, a wave of raw, unbridled power that threatened to tear the very fabric of the world apart. The wind whipped around the villagers, carrying with it the stench of earth and fire. The ground beneath their feet buckling as if it were about to collapse. The ritual was almost complete, but there was something wrong. The beast's cry had shifted. It was no longer just a sound. It was a force, a presence that seemed to invade the air itself. The earth was shaking, the fire sputtering out, and the very air around them felt heavy, as though something ancient had been stirred. Historians argue about the exact moment the ritual went awry. Some say it was the mistake of the elders that they failed to understand the true nature of the beast they sought to banish. Others say that the ritual itself was never meant to work, that the creature was simply too powerful to be contained. What is certain, however, is that the beast wasn't banished that night. Instead, something far worse happened. The ritual, instead of sending the creature away, opened a door. A rift between worlds that allowed the beast to slip into a new realm, one where it was more dangerous than ever. The village would never be the same after that night. The cries of the beast, once heard only in the distance, became constant, echoing through the land, seeping into the minds of every living thing. The villagers, once so proud of their efforts to rid the world of this terror, now found themselves trapped in a never-ending nightmare. The beast was free to roam, free to wreak havoc on the world it once called home. But even worse, it was growing stronger. Its cries had become louder, more menacing, as though it was feeding off the fear it had caused. Some say that the beast's power grew exponentially after that night, feeding on the energy of the rift that had been opened. Others believe that the rift itself was a doorway to another world, a world where the laws of nature no longer applied. Historians still argue over what happened that night, but one thing is for certain: the creature was no longer a simple beast. It was something more, something ancient and powerful that could no longer be contained. The villagers, desperate to restore peace, tried everything they could think of to rid themselves of the creature. They built larger walls, moved their homes farther apart, and created wards to protect themselves from its influence. But no matter what they did, the beast's presence lingered, always just outside their reach. The villagers began to speak of the beast not just as a monster, but as a force of nature, being that could never truly be destroyed, only hidden away, forgotten. And so, the creature's legend grew. It became something that people spoke of in hushed tones, a creature that was as much a part of the land as the earth itself. It was no longer just a beast that lived in the forest. It was something far more complex, a force of nature that had been forever altered by the actions of the village elders. Its cries were no longer just the noise of a single creature. They were the sound of something ancient, something that had been unleashed upon the world and could never be returned to the darkness. As the years passed, the beast's cries became an inescapable part of life for the villagers. At first, they tried to live with it after all. They were used to strange things in the forest. But the beast's presence grew more malevolent with every passing day. The sound wasn't just a roar anymore. It was a gnashing of teeth, a thunderous, guttural growl that rattled the very bones of those who heard it. It was indeed the kind of sound that could be ignored or drowned out by the daily bustle of life. No, this sound carved its way into the very marrow of the villagers' existence, a constant reminder of the forces they had unleashed. But there was more to it than just the noise. Something had shifted in the world since that fateful ritual. The seasons seemed to change unnaturally fast, and the trees began to grow crooked and bent, as though even nature itself was being corrupted by the beast's power. Historians still argue whether it was the rituals themselves or the creature's growing strength that altered the fabric of reality. Some say the beast had somehow altered time itself, bending the world around it to its will. Others believe the rift that had been opened during the ritual was simply a crack in the very laws of nature, a wound in the earth that allowed the beast to exert its influence far beyond the forest. But no matter what the truth was, one thing was clear. The beast was no longer something that could be contained by mere rituals or barriers. It had become something much larger, something beyond human understanding. The villagers' fear grew as the creature's presence spread. Crops began to fail, animals began to act strangely, and entire families found themselves abandoning their homes, fleeing from the terror that had descended upon them. They no longer thought of the beast as a mere nuisance. It was a force of nature, a harbinger of doom that no one could escape. The once thriving village began to empty, people traveling farther and farther away, seeking refuge in lands untouched by the beast's influence. But not everyone left. In the heart of the forest, far from the villages, a lone figure stood, watching the horizon with steady eyes. This was the wanderer, the one who would come to learn the truth about the beast, the one who would stand in its path and discover its pain. The wanderer wasn't from the village. They came from a distant land, drawn to the stories of the beast by the whispers of travelers who had passed through the village. There was something about the creature's roar that called to the wanderer, something that pulled them to this place, despite the warnings and the fear that gripped every soul in the area. The wanderers stood at the edge of the forest, their hearts steady and sure. They had been warned by those who had passed through the land, told that the forest was cursed, that the beast could not be tamed. But the wanderer wasn't interested in fear. They were interested in the truth. They had spent years searching for answers to the mysteries of the world. And this creature was one of the final pieces of the puzzle. At first, the wanderer had only heard rumors. They had been told of a creature that roamed the forest, a beast whose roar could shatter mountains and whose very presence could change the course of fate itself. But what intrigued the wanderer wasn't just the beast's power, it was its origins. Why had it been cast out? What had happened to make it such a force of terror? What had it lost? And could it ever find peace again? With a deep breath, the wanderer stepped forward into the darkened woods where no one else dared to tread. The air was thick with the scent of wet earth and ancient trees, and the path ahead was barely visible beneath the twisting roots and low-hanging branches. The further the wanderer went, the more the world seemed to shift. The forest grew darker, the trees tighter together, and the sounds of the creatures that lived within grew distant, as though they had fled in fear. But still, the sound of the beasts were echoed through the trees, louder now, closer, as if the very land itself was alive with its presence. The wanderer wasn't afraid. They had heard the stories, of course, but they knew that fear was the first thing that would stop them from finding the answers they sought. So, they continued, following the sound, the only guide they had. The air grew colder with each step, and the underbrush began to thicken, the shadows longer, deeper, till it felt like the forest itself was trying to swallow them whole. But the wanderer pressed on, determined to reach the source of the sound. And then, in the distance, through the thicket, the wanderer saw it a figure, standing in the heart of the forest, towering above the trees. Its silhouette outlined by the moon, the beast. Its eyes glowed, reflecting the pale light of the moon. And its massive form was like something out of a nightmare, too large, too wild to be real. Its fur was matted and tangled, its teeth jagged and sharp, and its body seemed to pulse with an energy that was almost otherworldly. The beast's roar rumbled again, sending a tremor through the earth beneath the wanderer's feet. But instead of retreating, the wanderer stood firm. The creature turned its head, its glowing eyes locking onto the wanderer. It was an eerie moment, the two standing there, facing each other in the heart of the forest, the world around them holding its breath. The beast did not charge, did not scream. It simply watched, as if it, too, was waiting. For what? The wanderer couldn't say. But in that moment, the wanderer understood something that no one else had. The beast wasn't just a monster, it was a being in pain, trapped in a world it no longer understood. It had been cast out, but it was not without its own sorrow. Historians still debate what happened next. Some say the wanderer reached out to the creature, offering it a chance at peace, while others believe the creature allowed the wanderer to come close, sensing something in them that it had not felt for centuries. But what is certain is that the wanderer and the beast stood together in silence, surrounded by the ancient trees. For the first time in a long time, the roar of the beast ceased, placed by a quiet that filled the forest, as if the land itself had paused to listen. The wanderer's journey had only just begun, but already the answers they sought were clearer than ever. The beast wasn't just a creature of terror. It was something more, something ancient, and it had been misunderstood for far too long. The silence in the forest hung heavy between the wanderer and the beast, a kind of delicate truce that neither seemed ready to break. The wind, once howling and restless, stilled, as if even nature was uncertain of how to move forward. The wanderers stood there, their hearts steady, but their minds swirling with questions, all of which had suddenly become urgent. Why had the beast been banished? Why did its cries haunt the earth so? And perhaps the most pressing question of Al-Qadi ever be at peace. The creature's eyes glowing with an eerie, unnatural light fixed on the wanderer, its gaze unblinking. There was a sense of something ancient in those eyes, something that had lived for far longer than any of the villagers knew, and far longer than any of the elders had ever believed. The wanderer took a tentative step forward, their body moving not with fear, but with a kind of reverence. They knew they weren't just facing a monster, they were facing something that was both ancient and powerful, a creature that had seen things the world had long forgotten. With a soft, almost imperceptible gesture, the beast lowered its massive head. It was a strange, almost tender gesture, one that seemed to say, "I am not your enemy." The wanderer, sensing this, took another step closer, their voice barely above a whisper as they spoke. "You've been cast away, haven't you?" he said, not expecting the creature to answer, but almost as if speaking the words would make them true. "The world has abandoned you." The beast's eyes flickered with a faint understanding, and for a moment, the air around them seemed to vibrate with the energy of something ancient. The ground beneath the wanderer's feet trembled, not in fear, but in acknowledgement. The beast had been cast out, but its heart still beat for the land it had once called home. It was a creature of sorrow, of loss, trapped between worlds. It could not understand its roar as not just an expression of anger, but of a pain so deep that it could tear the very fabric of the earth itself. The wanderer continued, their voice calm yet filled with the weight of what they were beginning to understand. You were meant to be a part of this world, weren't you? You weren't meant to be cast aside. The beast made no sound, but its eyes seemed to glow brighter. A flicker of something in them, perhaps hope. Perhaps acceptance, before it turned its head and slowly began to move deeper into the forest. The wanderer followed, not out of fear, but out of an unspoken understanding that something important was unfolding, something that could not be ignored. As they moved deeper into the forest, the atmosphere grew heavier, more oppressive. The trees seemed to grow closer together, their branches twisting into unnatural shapes, as though they were reaching for the wanderer and the beast. The air was thick with the scent of earth and decay, and the ground beneath their feet seemed to shift and pulse, as if it too was alive with the creature's power. The wanderer could feel the weight of the land's history pressing down on them, the centuries of silence and suffering that had accumulated like a heavy cloak. The beast, now moving with a slow, deliberate grace, seemed to be guiding the wanderer toward something, though the wanderer had no idea what that might be. The journey through the forest felt timeless, as though they were moving through a space outside of time, a place where the past and present collided in ways that defied logic. The sounds of the forest, once so distant and faint, grew louder, more vivid, as though the trees themselves were speaking, whispering secrets long buried. And then, as they rounded a bend in the path, the wanderer saw at a clearing vast and untouched, the center of which held something unimaginable. A massive stone circle, ancient and worn, its surface etched with symbols that seemed to shift and change as the light of the moon flickered across them. The stone circle radiated an energy that was palpable, a force that seemed to pull at the very fabric of the world around it. The wanderers stopped in their tracks, awe and trepidation mingling within them. The beast, however, stepped forward without hesitation, its massive form moving with a confidence that suggested it had been here before. As the creature entered the circle, the air seemed to hum with energy, and the symbols etched into the stones began to glow with a faint, otherworldly light. The wanderer stood still, watching in silence as the beast took its place in the center of the circle, its body becoming one with the stones, as if it were melding with the land itself. For a long moment, nothing happened. The world seemed to hold its breath as though waiting for something. And then, as if by some unseen force, the ground beneath the wanderer's feet trembled again. But this time it wasn't a tremor of fear, it was a tremor of awakening. The stones around the circle began to glow brighter, and the symbols carved into them shifted, revealing an ancient script, one that the wanderer couldn't understand, but that seemed to speak directly to the very soul of the earth. The beast, now standing perfectly still in the center of the circle, let out a single mournful cry. No, this was different. This was a sound of release, of something long buried finally being set free. The wanderer stood frozen in place, watching as the energy of the circle seemed to envelop the beast, wrapping around it like a cloak of light. The beast's body began to shimmer, its form becoming translucent, as though it were slipping between worlds. And for a moment, the wanderer thought it might disappear entirely. But instead, the creature's form solidified once more. its presence more powerful than ever before. The beast's eyes locked with the wanderers, and in that moment something deep and ancient passed between them. The wanderer could feel it, a connection, a bond that had been forged in the very heart of the earth, in the ancient past, when the beast had first been born. It was a connection that spoke not just of the creature's pain, but of its purpose. The wanderer now understood what they had come here for, not to defeat the beast, not to banish it, but to help it remember, to help it reclaim its place in the world. The beast's cry echoed one last time, but this time, it wasn't the roar of a creature lost and abandoned. It was the cry of something reborn. And in that cry, the wanderer understood everything. The creature had not been cast out for being too loud. It had been cast out because its presence reminded the world of the forces that lay hidden in the shadows. It had been cast out because it was too pure, too powerful for a world that feared what it didn't understand. And now, standing in the heart of the stone circle, the wanderer realized that the beast was not just a monster, it was a guardian, a protector of something much older than the land, something that no human could truly comprehend. The wanderer had come to help the beast, but in doing so, they had also helped themselves. They had found a deeper understanding of the world, one that transcended fear, one that embraced the unknown. Historians still argue about the final fate of the beast. Some say it was forever freed, its power dissipating into the earth from which it came. Others say it returned to the shadows, where it still roams, waiting for those brave enough to listen. But one thing is certain, the beast's cry no longer haunts the villages. Its roar has faded into the forgotten corners of history, a reminder that sometimes the loudest cries are the ones that carry the most truth. The wanderer left the stone circle with the weight of a secret knowledge pressing down on their chest. The knowledge that the creature they had once feared was not a force of destruction, but a misunderstood guardian of ancient power. The night was deep now, the moon high above, casting its cold light over the landscape. And as the wanderer walked back through the forest, the world around them seemed different. The trees, once so dark and oppressive, now whispered a soft, ancient song. Their leaves rustling in a way that felt less like wind and more like the gentle voice of the earth itself. The creature, no longer just a beast of terror, followed at a distance, its heavy steps silent against the forest floor. The bond between them, forged in the heart of the stone circle, remained unbroken. The wanderer could feel it in the air, a silent communication that passed between them with every step they took. The beast's presence, once so terrifying, now felt like a comfort. Its powerful energy, a reminder that the world was still alive, still filled with mystery and power beyond human comprehension. As the wanderer emerged from the forest, the village came into view quiet. Still, its empty streets a stark contrast to the life that had once thrived there. The once bustling market square was silent, the homes dark, with no signs of life. The wanderer paused at the edge of the village, feeling a deep sadness in their heart. What had become of the people? What had they fled from, and why had they abandoned their homes? The village had once been a place of warmth and community, but now it was nothing more than a memory. Historians still debate the fate of the villagers. Some say they left in search of safety, fleeing from the creature's power, but others believe they were drawn away by something else, a fear so deep that it pulled them from their homes, making them abandon everything they had known. The truth, as with so many things in history, is lost to time. All that remains is the emptiness, the silence that stretches across the village like a wound. The wanderer, knowing they could not stay in the village, turned back toward the forest. But not without a final look at the homes that had once been filled with laughter and life. There was a deep sense of loss, a realization that the world they had known was gone, replaced by something that could never be undone. And yet, there was something else, a feeling of hope, of rebirth, of something new stirring in the very bones of the earth. The creature had not been the cause of the village's downfall, but it had been part of something much larger, something that had been set into motion long before anyone could understand. As the wanderer made their way back into the forest, they found themselves thinking of the beast not as a terror, but as a force that had been misunderstood by all who had crossed its path. The creature had been feared not because it was evil, but because it was something beyond human understanding. It was a force of nature, a being tied to the very fabric of the world. And it had been cast out because the people could not comprehend its power. But the wanderer had seen what others had not: the truth behind the beast's existence. It was a guardian, a protector, not of the world as it was, but of the world as it could be. And so, the wanderer walked on, the creature following in their wake, its powerful presence a silent reminder that the journey was far from over. The forest, once so dark and foreboding, now seemed to welcome them, its ancient trees swaying gently in the wind, the very air humming with energy. The world, it seemed, was shifting once again. The creature, once cast aside, had found its place in the grand scheme of things. And with it, the wanderer had found their own purpose. As the wanderer journeyed deeper into the forest, they felt the weight of history bearing down on them. The world they knew was changing, and with it, they were changing as well. There was a deep sense of peace within them now, a quiet understanding that they were no longer an outsider in this world, but a part of it. The bond between them and the beast was not just one of shared experience, it was a bond that transcended time and space, a connection to something ancient and eternal. The wanderer had come to the forest seeking answers, but in the end, they had found something far more important. A place in the world, a connection to the earth itself. Historians still argue about the true nature of the beast. Some say it was a creature of legend, a figment of the collective imagination, while others believe it was a being tied to the very forces of nature. Some say the wanderer and the beast parted ways, their paths forever separated, while others believe they walked together into the unknown, bound by a shared purpose that would last for all eternity. The truth, as always, remains shrouded in mystery. What is certain, however, is that the world was forever changed by the creature's existence, and the wanderer's journey was only just beginning. The forest grew quieter as the wanderer continued their journey. The sounds of the beast's footsteps, once so loud and imposing, had faded into the background, replaced by the gentle rustle of the trees and the soft hum of the earth beneath their feet. The world around them was not the same as it had been when they first arrived. It was as though a veil had been lifted. The wanderer could now see the world in a new light, clearer, more vivid, more alive. With each step they took, the wanderer felt a deep sense of gratitude, not just for the answers they had found, but for the journey itself. The path they had walked, though fraught with danger and uncertainty, had led them to a deeper understanding of the world and their place within it. They had come seeking to understand the beast, but in the end, they had discovered something far more profound: the truth about themselves. As the wanderer moved further into the forest, the trees began to open up, revealing a small clearing bathed in the soft light of the moon. In the center of the clearing stood a single stone, ancient and worn, its surface etched with symbols that seemed to shift and change with every passing moment. The wanderer paused for a moment, feeling the weight of the stone's presence. It was a place of power, a place where the earth itself seemed to speak. And the wanderer knew that this was where their journey would end, not with an answer, but with a beginning. With a final glance at the beast who had followed them into the clearing, the wanderer stepped forward, their hand resting gently on the stone. The world around them seemed to hold its breath, the silence thick and expectant. And in that moment, the wanderer understood. This was not the end of their journey. It was merely the beginning of something much larger, something that would continue long after they were gone. The bond between them and the beast, between them and the earth, would endure. A reminder that the world was far more complex than anyone could imagine. And so, with a deep breath, the wanderer stepped into the unknown, the stone beneath their hand warm with the energy of the earth, the beast by their side, and the world at their feet. The wanderer's journey continued into the night, the moonlight casting long shadows on the forest floor as they moved deeper into the unknown. The air had grown cooler, and the familiar sounds of the forest seemed to fade into an eerie quiet, as though the earth itself was holding its breath. The beast, once a force of terror, now walked silently by their side, its massive form moving with a grace that was almost serene. The bond between the two had only strengthened with every step, an unspoken understanding that neither fully comprehended but both accepted without question. The path ahead seemed to stretch endlessly, but there was a sense of purpose in the wanderer's movements, a quiet resolve that had grown stronger with each passing day. They had come into the forest seeking answers, and now they were beginning to understand that the answers they sought were not just about the beast, but about the world itself, the world that lay hidden beneath the surface, the world of ancient forces and untold power. As they moved forward, the forest around them began to change. The trees grew taller, their trunks thick with age, their branches intertwining above to form a canopy that blocked out the sky. The path they walked was no longer a simple trail through the woods, but something more, something ancient and deliberate, as though the earth itself had carved this path for them to follow. It was as if the forest had been waiting for them, its shadows long and thick, its roots twisting and turning beneath the earth, guiding them toward something unknown. The wanderer felt the weight of the forest's presence, the ancient energy that pulsed through the ground beneath their feet. It was as if the land itself was alive, aware, and watching them with a keen sense of purpose. There were no animals in sight, no birds singing in the trees or squirrels darting across the forest floor. It was as if the entire world had fallen silent, as though all the creatures of the earth had gathered to witness the wanderer's journey. The beast, too, seemed to sense the change. It moved more slowly now, its head held low, its eyes fixed on the path ahead. The wanderer, too, could feel something deep and ancient that stirred within the very earth beneath them. It was as if the land was beckoning them forward, urging them toward something, though they did not yet know what that something was. The deeper they went, the more the forest seemed to close in around them, the trees growing thicker, their branches gnarled and twisted, reaching out like hands in the darkness. The air grew heavy with the scent of damp earth and moss, and the wanderer felt a growing sense of unease, though they did not know why. They had felt the weight of the forest before, but this was different. It was as if they were being drawn toward something hidden in the depths of the woods, something that the world had long forgotten. The wanderer's pace quickened, the sound of their footsteps muffled by the thick carpet of leaves beneath their feet. The beast, too, seemed to pick up its pace, its heavy steps echoing in the silence of the forest. The air grew colder still, and the trees seemed to close in around them, the canopy above thickening, casting them into shadows. Then, as if by some unseen force, the wanderer stopped. Something ahead caught their eye, faint light flickering in the distance. It was not the pale light of the moon, but something warmer, something that seemed to glow with an inner fire. The wanderer's heart skipped a beat, and they took a step forward, drawn toward the light, the beast following closely behind. As they moved closer, the light grew brighter, and the trees around them began to thin. The path opened up into a small clearing, and in the center of the clearing stood something that took the wanderer's breath away. It was a structure aimed and weathered, yet still standing tall and proud. It was made of stone, its surface covered in vines and moss, its edges worn smooth by the passage of time. The structure was a temple, a place of power, and it was unlike anything the wanderer had ever seen before. Historians still debate the origin of the temple. Some say it was built by an ancient civilization, long lost to time. Others believe it was created by the gods themselves, a place where the forces of the earth were channeled and harnessed. Whatever its origin, one thing was clear. This was no ordinary structure. It radiated power, an energy that seemed to flow from the very stones themselves, and the wanderer could feel it deep in their bones. The beast stopped at the edge of the clearing, its eyes fixed on the temple. There was a sense of reverence in its posture, a quiet recognition of the place it had come to. The wanderer, too, felt a pull toward the temple, an undeniable sense that they were meant to be here, that this was the place where their journey would reach its culmination. As they approached the temple, the air seemed to hum with energy, and the ground beneath their feet vibrated with a low, steady pulse. The wanderer reached out a hand, brushing their fingers against the stone, and as they did, the energy in the air seemed to shift. It was as if the temple had been waiting for them, and now that they had arrived, it was ready to reveal its secrets. The wanderer stepped forward, moving toward the entrance of the temple. The beast, as if understanding the significance of this moment, followed closely behind, its steps silent on the forest floor. The entrance to the temple was narrow, the stone door thick and heavy, but as the wanderer approached, it slowly began to open, the stones grinding against one another with an eerie, echoing sound. Inside, the air was thick with dust, and the walls of the temple were lined with ancient carvings, each one depicting scenes from a time long forgotten. There were images of creatures, beasts like the one the wanderer had come to know, but also of gods and spirits, beings that seemed to be part of the very earth itself. The carvings were intricate and detailed, their forms so lifelike that it was as though the figures could step off the walls at any moment. The wanderer's heart raced as they stepped further into the temple, their eyes scanning the walls, taking in the ancient artwork. There was something about the carvings, something that spoke to them on a deep, primal level. They could feel the weight of the history in this place, the ancient power that had once flowed through these walls. And they knew that they were standing in the presence of something far greater than themselves. The beast, too, seemed to sense the significance of the moment. It moved silently through the temple, its eyes darting from one carving to the next, as though it was searching for something. The wanderer could feel the tension in the air, the sense that something important was about to happen. As they reached the center of the temple, they found a pedestal, and upon it, a stone tablet, its surface covered in more intricate carvings. The wanderer stepped forward, their heart pounding in their chest. As they reached out to touch the tablet, as their fingers brushed against the surface, the carvings began to glow, their symbols lighting up with a soft golden light. The beast standing beside them let out a low growl, and the wanderer could feel the connection between them grow stronger. It was as if the beast, too, recognized the importance of this moment, of the power that was contained within the temple's walls. And in that moment, the wanderer understood this was where it all began, and this was where it would all end. The secrets of the beast, of the land, and of the world were contained within this temple. The journey had not been just about the beast. It had been about understanding the deeper forces that shaped the world. The forces that lay hidden beneath the surface, waiting to be discovered. The wanderer turned to the beast, their eyes meeting the creature's, and in that moment, they both understood. The beast had not been cast out by the world it had been chosen to carry the power of the earth, to guard the secrets of the world's true nature. And now, together, they would unlock those secrets, revealing the truth that had been hidden for so long. The moment lingered, suspended in time, as if the temple itself were holding its breath. The wanderer and the beast stood together in the center, the golden light from the stone tablet bathing them in an ethereal glow, as the power of the ancient place surged through the air. The carvings on the walls flickered with life, their images shifting and swirling, as if the very stones were alive, telling stories of times long past, of gods, of beasts, of forgotten powers that had shaped the world into what it had become. The wanderer's fingers still rested lightly on the tablet, and with each heartbeat, the light grew brighter, more intense, filling the temple with an overwhelming sense of purpose. There was a deep rumbling hum that reverberated through the ground beneath their feet, a vibration that seemed to come from the very heart of the earth itself. The beast, too, seemed to feel it, its massive form tense with anticipation, its eyes fixed on the tablet with an intensity that spoke of a deeper understanding. Historians still argue about what happened in that moment, whether the wanderer unlocked something within themselves, something buried deep in their soul, or whether it was the ancient power of the temple that did the work. Some say it was a moment of pure magic, where the boundaries between the known world and the unknown were blurred, where time itself seemed to fold in on itself. Others believe that the creature, the beast, was the true key to unlocking the temple's secrets, its ancient energy intertwining with the wanderer's own, creating a bond that reached beyond time and space. But what is certain, what can never be doubted, is that in that moment, the world changed. The walls of the temple seemed to shift and groan, the air thick with the sound of ancient power awakening. The carvings on the walls began to move, twisting and turning in intricate patterns, as if the stone itself was alive, breathing in time with the pulse of the earth. The wanderer could feel it, a deep, resonant energy that hummed in the air, filling their lungs, vibrating in their bones. It was as though the very essence of the world was being revealed, and they were standing at the center of it all, witnessing the truth of the earth's ancient power. The beast, too, was transformed. Its once intimidating presence, the terrifying roar that had echoed through the forest, now seemed to shift into something else, something ancient and wise. The air around it crackled with energy, its form shimmering with a light that seemed to pulse from within. It was no longer just a creature of the forest, a beast misunderstood and cast out. It was something more. Something that had always been a part of the world, a force that had been waiting patiently for this moment. The wanderer took a deep breath, their heart racing with the intensity of the moment. They could feel the power of the temple, the power of the beast, and the power within themselves, coming together in a way that was beyond comprehension. They closed their eyes for a moment, letting the energy wash over them, feeling it stir something deep within, something ancient, something that had always been there, just waiting to be awakened. As the wanderer opened their eyes again, they found themselves standing in a place unlike any they had ever seen. The temple around them had disappeared, and in its place was a vast, open landscape, an endless expanse of rolling hills, rivers, and mountains stretching out as far as the eye could see. The sky above was dark, filled with swirling clouds and flickering stars, but the air was still calm and peaceful. There was no sound here, no roar of the beast, no hum of ancient energy, just the stillness of the world, untouched by time. For a moment, the wanderer stood still, taking in the vastness of the world before them, feeling the weight of what they had uncovered. This was not just a temple, not just a place of power. It was a doorway to something greater, something beyond the understanding of any man or beast. It was a doorway to the heart of the earth itself, a place where the forces that shaped the world could be seen, felt, and understood. The beast, too, stood beside them, its form no longer a terrifying presence, but a silent guardian, its eyes filled with wisdom and understanding. It was no longer a creature of the forest, a monster that had been cast out. It was a being of the earth, tied to the very forces that had shaped the world for eons. The wanderer turned to the beast, feeling a deep connection to it, as if they, too, were now a part of this ancient world. Bound by the same forces that had shaped the creature's existence, the silence of the landscape was broken by a single deep sound, a sound that seemed to come from the earth itself. It was a rumble that echoed through the very fabric of the world. The wanderer turned, their gaze fixed on the horizon, where a faint light appeared, a light that seemed to pulse with a steady rhythm like a heartbeat. The beast's eyes followed the light, its form tense with recognition, and the wanderer understood. This was the source of the energy they had felt in the temple, the source of the power that had been awakened. It was the heart of the earth, a force so ancient, so powerful, that it could not be understood by any but the most ancient of beings. Historians still argue about the nature of this force, this energy that the wanderer and the beast had uncovered. Some say it was the pulse of the earth, the life force that flowed through all things. Others believe it was the energy of the gods themselves, a power that had been hidden away for eons, waiting for the right moment to be revealed. Whatever the truth may be, one thing is certain. The wanderer and the beast had uncovered something that could not be ignored, something that would change the course of history forever. The wanderer stepped forward, their heart beating in time with the pulse of the earth. And as they did, the ground beneath their feet shifted. The landscape around them began to change, the rolling hills turning into jagged mountains, the rivers transforming into vast, swirling oceans. The sky above grew darker, the clouds swirling with energy, and the very air seemed to crackle with the power that had been unleashed. The wanderer could feel it. This was not just a dream, not just a vision. It was real as the ground beneath their feet, as real as the power that had been awakened within them. And then, as if by some unseen force, the wanderer was pulled forward, deeper into the landscape, their body moving with the rhythm of the earth itself. The beast, too, followed, its massive form moving with purpose, its eyes fixed on the horizon, where the light pulsed with an intensity that seemed to call to them both. The journey had only just begun. The wanderer knew that they had only scratched the surface of what the world had to offer. There were still secrets to uncover, still mysteries to solve. But one thing was certain: they were no longer just a wanderer. They were a part of something much larger, something beyond time and space, something that would continue long after they were gone. And as they walked, the earth beneath their feet seemed to come alive. The power of the land flowing through them, guiding them forward into the unknown. The journey continued through the strange, shifting landscape, and the wanderer, feeling the deep pulse of the earth beneath their feet, knew that they were no longer simply a traveler in this world. They had become a part of it, intertwined with the very forces that govern the land, the sky, and the seas. It was a sensation like no other, an understanding that surpassed words, a connection that reached deep into the soul, as though the very marrow of their being had been touched by the ancient power that flowed through everything. And as they walked, the beast beside them, once feared, now moved with an almost serene purpose. Its presence no longer one of terror, but of a steady, grounded power that seemed to echo the energy of the land. The beast, too, had changed. No longer was it a creature of pure instinct, of hunger and rage, had become something else, something more ancient and wise. Its every movement now seemed deliberate, as though it understood its place in the grand scheme of things, its role in this ever-turning world. The wanderer could feel this change, could sense the shift in the beast's energy, as it aligned with the ancient forces that pulsed in the land. It was as if, together, they were beginning to understand their purpose, their connection to the earth, and the power that flowed through it. As they moved forward, the landscape around them shifted again. The once jagged mountains softened into rolling hills, the oceans receded, and the sky above cleared, revealing a brilliant canopy of stars. The air was still, cool, filled with a sense of peace that contrasted sharply with the urgency that had driven them this far. The wanderer felt a deep sense of awe as they gazed upward, their eyes tracing the stars, each one seeming to burn brighter than the last. It was as if the entire universe was watching, waiting for something, and in that moment, the wanderer understood. They weren't just a part of the earth now, they were a part of something far larger, part of the cosmic balance that stretched across time and space. The beast let out a low, rumbling growl, and the wanderer turned toward it. The creature's eyes were fixed on something ahead, something in the distance that the wanderer couldn't see. For the first time, the beast seemed to be looking beyond the horizon, as though it could sense something that had yet to be revealed. The wanderer followed the beast's gaze, but there was nothing there, nothing except the vast expanse of stars and the silent stretch of the land before them. And yet, despite the vast emptiness, the wanderer could feel the presence of something waiting just beyond the edge of their perception. The land had shifted, had become something else, and there was a deep sense that the true journey was about to begin. Historians still debate what lies beyond the edge of the world, beyond the farthest reaches of the lands we know. Some say it is a place of unimaginable power, where the laws of nature bend and shift in ways that defy understanding. Others believe it is a realm of gods, of spirits, a place where the boundaries between life and death, time and eternity, are blurred. Whatever the truth may be, one thing is certain. The wanderer and the beast were about to cross into a realm that had been hidden from the world for eons, a place where the very fabric of reality itself was shaped. The beast began to move forward again, its massive body slipping through the land with a grace that seemed at odds with its size. It moved toward the distant horizon, where the land met the sky, and the wanderer followed without hesitation. There was no fear now, no uncertainty, only the steady, rhythmic pulse of the earth beneath their feet and the deep, resonant energy that thrummed through the air. The bond between them, the wanderer and the beast, had deepened, had become something unbreakable. They were no longer two separate beings, but one, united by the forces of the land and the ancient power that flowed through them. The journey grew quieter as they moved forward, the sound of their footsteps muffled by the soft earth. The world around them seemed to grow stiller, as if it too were waiting for something to happen. The stars above burned with a cold, distant light, and the air seemed to hold its breath, as though the earth itself were watching, waiting for the next step in the wanderer's journey. And then, just as suddenly as it had started, the ground beneath them began to shift again. The earth trembled, the air grew thick with energy, and the land around them seemed to break apart, splitting open to reveal a vast, glowing chasm beneath them. The beast stopped, its eyes wide, and the wanderer, feeling the shift in the air, knew that they had reached the point of no return. This was the moment they had been drawn to, the moment when everything would change. The wanderer stepped forward, feeling the pull of the chasm beneath them, the deep, resonant hum of power rising from the depths. The beast growled low in its throat, a sound of warning, but the wanderer felt no fear. There was only the deep, unshakable understanding that this was where they were meant to be. This was where the journey would culminate, where the answers they had been seeking would finally be revealed. As they stepped closer to the chasm, the air around them seemed to shimmer, as if the very fabric of reality were beginning to tear. The wanderer reached out, feeling the pulse of energy coming from the chasm, and as their fingers brushed against the air, something shifted. The ground beneath their feet cracked open, and the world around them seemed to disappear, placed by an overwhelming surge of light and energy. The beast let out a roar, and for a moment, the wanderer felt a deep sense of fear, of uncertainty, as if the world itself were unraveling before their eyes. But then, as the light grew brighter, the fear faded, replaced by a sense of clarity, of purpose. The energy that had been pulsing through the earth, through the very air itself, surged through the wanderer, and they understood this was it. This was the moment when the world would change forever. The chasm before them seemed to open wider, revealing a vast expanse of stars, of swirling cosmic energy, of infinite possibilities. The wanderer could feel the connection between themselves and the beast, between themselves and the earth, between themselves and the very fabric of the universe itself. They were no longer just a travelay, they were a part of something much larger, something eternal. And as the light continued to grow, the wanderer knew that they had found what they had been searching for all along. Not just the truth of the beast, but the truth of the world, of the forces that governed it, of the deep hidden power that flowed through every living thing. Historians still argue about what happens next. Some say the wanderer stepped into the chasm and was lost forever, swallowed by the very forces they had uncovered. Others believe the wanderer and the beast became one with the earth, their energy melding with the very core of the planet. The truth, as with so many things, is lost to time. But one thing is certain, the world was never the same after that night. The roar of the beast, once a sound of terror, faded into the distance, replaced by something new, something deeper. The wanderer, their journey complete, had found not just the truth they sought, but something much greater, the understanding that they were a part of something eternal, something beyond time and space. The wanderer and the beast stood at the edge of the chasm, a place where the earth seemed to bleed into the stars, where the boundaries between worlds grew thin and fragile, and the pulse of energy that had thrummed in the earth grew ever more powerful. The light around them continued to grow brighter, casting long shadows across the landscape, and the air crackled with a tangible force, as though the world itself was holding its breath, waiting for something. The landscape had changed, yes, but it was more than that. This place felt different. It's alive in a way that could not be explained, as if it existed outside of time, where the past, present, and future all came together in a single, fleeting moment. The wanderer could feel the energy surging around them, and for a moment, they were overwhelmed, their minds struggling to comprehend the sheer scale of the forces they had tapped into. The beast, too, was silent, its massive form standing still, eyes wide. And yet there was something in the way it stood, something that spoke of recognition, of understanding. The creature, too, felt the pull of this place, felt the call of the energy that surged through the air, through the very fabric of reality itself. Historians debate whether this moment was truly a convergence of ancient powers, or if it was simply the wanderer's mind expanding to comprehend the vastness of existence. Some say the energy from the chasm was a force of destruction, while others argue it was the power of creation. But what is certain is that in that moment, the wanderer and the beast shared something profound, something that transcended their individual existence, something that bound them to the earth and the stars and to a cosmic cycle much larger than themselves. The wanderer stepped forward, the ground beneath them shifting with each step, as if the earth itself was alive, shifting and changing with their movements. The air around them hummed, and the power of the chasm seemed to draw them forward, beckoning them into its depths, into a place where the fabric of the world itself could be bent and reshaped. It was a place of both danger and possibility, a place where nothing was certain, but everything was possible. As they moved closer to the edge, the light grew even brighter, and the energy in the air intensified. It was as if the entire universe had gathered in this one moment, waiting for the wanderer to take the next step, to make the choice that would define the course of history. The beast, too, was drawn toward the chasm, moving silently behind them, its massive form now casting no shadow in the light, as though it too was caught in the gravity of this place. The wanderer reached out, their hand trembling as they approached the edge of the chasm. The air felt alive with energy, and they could hear the faint whispers of voices, distant and ancient, like the echoes of forgotten gods. The beast, now standing beside them, let out a low growl, its eyes scanning the depths of the chasm. There was a sense of recognition in its gaze, a recognition of something that lay beyond the chasm, beyond the fabric of the world. For a moment, the wanderer hesitated. The pull of the chasm was undeniable, the energy that surged from it irresistible. But there was a part of them that held back, a part that wasn't sure whether they were ready to step into the unknown, to embrace the power that awaited them. The world had changed, but had they changed enough to face what lay beyond? And then, as if in answer to the wanderer's uncertainty, the beast stepped forward. It moved with a quiet grace, its massive form blending with the light around it, its presence no longer one of terror, but one of acceptance, of understanding. The creature's eyes locked with the wanderers, and in that moment they knew what had to be done. The beast was not just a force of nature, it was a guide, a protector, being that had seen the depths of the world and understood its true purpose. The wanderer had come seeking answers, but they had found something far more important. A companion, a guide, and a truth that could not be ignored. With a deep breath, the wanderer stepped forward, their hand reaching toward the light, toward the energy that surged from the chasm. The ground beneath them trembled, and the very air seemed to bend around them, as if the world itself were making room for the next chapter in the wanderer's journey. The beast, too, stepped forward, its massive form glowing with an ethereal light. A silent companion on the path that had been set before them. Historians still debate what happens next. Some say that the wanderer and the beast were swallowed by the chasm, lost to the world forever, their fates sealed by the energy they had unlocked. Others believe they stepped into another realm, one where time and space no longer held sway, and where they would continue their journey together, forever bound by the cosmic forces they had awakened. Whatever the truth may be, what is certain is that the moment they crossed into the light, the world was forever changed. The chasm, once a place of fear and uncertainty, became a symbol of possibility. A reminder that sometimes the greatest journeys are the ones that take us into the unknown. The landscape around them began to shift again, the world transforming with each passing moment. The trees grew taller, their branches reaching toward the sky, and the ground beneath their feet seemed to hum with life. The air was thick with energy, and the stars above burned brighter than ever before, as though they, too, were waiting for what was to come. The wanderer and the beast continued their journey, side by side, their path now illuminated by the light that radiated from the chasm. The connection between them had deepened, and the bond that had formed in the temple was now stronger than ever. The wanderer no longer felt like an outsider in this world, no longer felt like a traveler lost in the wilderness. They had become a part of the earth, a part of the forces that shaped the land, and they understood their place in the grand design of the universe. They had unlocked something ancient, something powerful, and they knew that their journey was far from over. As they moved forward, the world around them continued to shift, changing in ways that defied logic. The land itself seemed to bend and twist, reshaping with each step they took. The air hummed with energy, and the earth beneath their feet felt alive with power. The wanderer could feel the pulse of the earth, the rhythm of the land. And it was as if the world itself was guiding them forward, towards something greater, something that they could not yet comprehend. The beast, now fully in tune with the energy that flowed through the land, walked beside them, its form glowing with an otherworldly light. It was no longer just a creature of the forest, a being feared by those who did not understand it. It was a guide, a protector, a force of nature that had always been a part of the world, but that had been hidden from view. The wanderer had come seeking answers, but they had found something far greater than they could have imagined. They had found a companion, a purpose, and a connection to the earth that could never be broken. Together, the wanderer and the beast moved forward, side by side, into the unknown, knowing that their journey had only just begun. The path ahead was uncertain, but the wanderer no longer felt any fear. The energy that had once been a force to be reckoned with now felt like a guide, an unseen hand steering them through the shifting landscape, urging them forward with a gentle but firm push. The beast, once a creature feared by all who knew of it, now walked beside them, its steps steady and sure, its presence no longer one of terror, but of protection. The world around them was changing, reshaping itself with every step they took, but it no longer felt like an alien force. It felt like home. The wanderer had always known that there was something more to this world, something hidden beneath the surface, but they had never imagined it would feel like this, a connection so deep, so profound, that it was as if the very land was alive, breathing with them. The air around them hummed with energy. The trees around them whispered secrets long forgotten. And the stars above shone with an intensity that made everything feel possible. They were no longer just a traveler lost in a world of mysteries. They were part of it now, woven into the fabric of something much larger than themselves. They had been drawn to the forest by the stories of the beast, the terror that had haunted the villagers for generations. But now they saw it for what it truly was. A creature that had been cast aside, misunderstood and feared, when in reality it had been a guardian, protector of something ancient and powerful. The beast was no longer a monster to be destroyed, was a being to be understood, to be accepted. And the wanderer, too, had changed. They had come seeking answers, but what they had found was not just knowledge, but a sense of belonging, of purpose, of connection to something greater than themselves. The landscape around them continued to shift, the trees growing taller, their trunks twisting into strange shapes, as though the very forest was coming alive. The sky above seemed to pulse with the same energy that flowed through the land, and the stars grew brighter with each passing moment. The wanderer could feel the pull of something ahead, something that lay just beyond the horizon, just beyond their reach, but they knew they were getting closer. The bond between them and the beast had grown stronger, and it was as if they were both being drawn toward the same destination, toward the heart of the world. As they moved forward, the ground beneath their feet seemed to soften, the earth shifting beneath their weight, as though the world was adjusting itself to their presence. The trees parted ahead of them, revealing a vast clearing, a place of stillness and peace. The air was thick with the scent of ancient earth and wildflowers, and the sound of the wind rustling through the leaves was the only noise that filled the space. It was a place of quiet, a place of power, and the wanderer felt that this was where their journey had always been leading. The beast stepped forward, its massive form moving with a fluid grace, its eyes scanning the clearing, as if it recognized this place, as if it had been here before. The wanderer followed, their steps slow and deliberate, feeling the weight of the moment. They were no longer just a wanderer, they were part of the land, part of the beast's world, and part of something far larger than themselves. This was where the journey would culminate, they knew. This was the place where the answers they had sought would finally be revealed. The clearing was circular, the earth beneath them soft and warm, as though the very ground was alive, breathing beneath their feet. In the center of the clearing stood an ancient stone altar worn smooth by the passage of time, its surface etched with symbols that seemed to shimmer in the soft light. Beating faster with each step, and as they reached out to touch the stone, they felt the energy pulse through their fingers. A surge of power that seemed to flow from the very core of the earth. It was as if the stone itself was alive, responding to their presence. Historians still debate the meaning of the symbols etched into the stone. Some believe they are ancient runes, markers of a forgotten language, while others argue they are the remnants of a long-lost civilization. The truth is, no one truly knows what they mean. But in that moment, the wanderer felt that the meaning was clear. The symbols were a part of the land, a part of the earth's energy. And they were a key to unlocking the next chapter in the wanderer's journey. The beast, standing beside them, let out a low growl, its eyes fixed on the altar. And the wanderer knew that the creature too understood. The stone was more than just an ancient artifact. It was a gateway, a point of connection between the wanderer and the earth, between the past and the present, between the living and the dead. The energy that flowed through the altar was the same energy that flowed through the land, through the trees, through the very bones of the earth. It was the pulse of life itself, and the wanderer could feel it coursing through them, filling them with a sense of purpose that was both humbling and overwhelming. As they reached out to touch the stone, a flash of light filled the clearing, and the world around them seemed to blur and warp. The air hummed with energy, and the ground beneath their feet trembled, as though the earth itself was responding to the energy that had been unlocked. The beast stepped forward, its massive form glowing with a strange, otherworldly light, and the wanderer knew that they were no longer alone. They were connected to something far greater than themselves, something that had been waiting for them to arrive, to unlock the power that lay hidden in the earth. The altar's energy surged through the wanderer, and for a moment they felt as if they were being pulled into the stone, into the very core of the earth itself. They could hear the whispers of ancient voices, the echo of forgotten gods, the song of the world's creation. And they knew in that moment that they were standing at the crossroads of time. The answers they had sought, the understanding they had longed for, were now within their grasp. The world had changed, and they had changed with it. They were no longer just a wanderer, no longer an outsider looking for answers. They were a part of the land, a part of the earth, and they had been chosen to carry the ancient power of the world forward into the future. The beast, standing beside them, let out a roar, but this time, it wasn't a cry of terror or anger. It was a cry of release, of freedom, as if it too had found its place in the world. The energy that had pulsed through the wanderer now radiated from the beast, filling the clearing with a brilliance that was blinding, a light that seemed to stretch across the very fabric of the universe. The wanderer could feel the connection between them and the beast growing stronger, their bond now unbreakable, and they knew with certainty that their journey had come full circle. They had found the truth not just about the beast, but about the world, about the energy that flowed through it, and about their own place in the grand design of things. The light faded, and the clearing grew still again, the energy now a quiet hum beneath their feet. The wanderer, feeling the weight of what had just transpired, looked down at the altar one last time, their heart filled with both awe and gratitude. They had come seeking answers, but what they had found was so much more. They had found a connection to the earth, to the beast, and to the universe itself. And in that moment, they knew that their journey was not over, not by a long shot. It had only just begun. The silence in the clearing was no longer unsettling. Instead, it was peaceful, as if the earth itself had exhaled a long-held breath. The wanderer, feeling the steady pulse of the energy that still hummed beneath the ground, took a deep breath, grounding themselves in the present moment. The light from the altar had faded, but the connection it had forged within them, the link to the land, remained ever present. It was a strange feeling, the sensation of being both utterly small and completely connected to everything around them. The weight of the earth seemed to press down on their shoulders. but it was a weight they now carried with a sense of belonging, a sense of purpose. The beast, too, had changed. Its massive form no longer seemed out of place in this mystical setting. Its once wild and untamed nature now appeared subdued, not in submission, but in understanding. Its eyes glowing with the same inner light that now radiated from the wanderer met theirs, and in that moment, they both understood something that had previously eluded them. The journey was not just about reaching an endpoint. It was about the transformation, the understanding of the forces that shaped the world, and how those forces flowed through everything, even them. With a slow, deliberate movement, the wanderer stepped away from the altar, their feet light against the earth, as though they were walking on air. The beast followed closely behind, its steps soft and almost reverent, as if it too had sensed the weight of the moment, the magnitude of what had just transpired. The clearing, once so quiet and still, seemed to breathe with them, the trees swaying gently in the wind as if they, too, had felt the power shift in the air. Historians debate whether the wanderer's connection to the earth was simply a result of their time spent in the temple and the chasm, or if it was something deeper, something innate that had always been there, waiting to be awakened. Some say the wanderer was touched by the energy of the land, while others believe the bond between the wanderer and the beast was what truly unlocked the connection to the earth. But one thing is clear. The wanderer, in that moment, had become more than just a traveler. They had become part of the world itself. The landscape around them shifted again, the trees parting to reveal a path that had not been visible before. A path that seemed to stretch out into the horizon, disappearing into the distant light. The wanderer felt a pull toward it, a deep, unshakable sense that they were meant to follow it, meant to continue this journey, no matter how uncertain it might seem. The path ahead was shrouded in mystery, but that was what made it all the more alluring. The unknown had become a companion, a friend, and the wanderer could feel the anticipation building like a drumbeat in the distance. The beast, now walking beside them, let out a low growl, but this time, it wasn't a sound of warning or fear. It was a sound of recognition, of acceptance. The path ahead, the wanderer knew, was not just for them. It was for both of them, together, as one. They were no longer two separate beings walking different paths. They were bound together by the energy that had been awakened within them, and that energy was guiding them forward toward something greater. The world around them seemed to pulse in time with their steps, as if the land itself was alive, breathing with them, moving with them, guiding them toward their destination. The path ahead was long, but it was not daunting. It was a journey that felt natural, that felt like the next step in something much larger than themselves. And as they walked, the wanderer could feel the answers they had once sought begin to unravel before them, as if the very fabric of the universe was opening up, revealing itself piece by piece. The stars above grew brighter, and the sky shifted, the clouds parting to reveal a brilliant expanse of light. The energy that had surged through the wanderer and the beast now radiated outward, touching the world around them. It was as though the very air had become charged, alive with the possibilities of what was to come. The wanderer could feel the pull of the earth, the connection to the land, stronger than ever before. It was a call, a deep, resonant hum that echoed through their soul, guiding them forward. The beast's presence beside them was no longer a force to be feared. It was a partner, a companion in this journey, and the wanderer knew that they had reached a point where they could no longer walk alone. The beast was as much a part of this world as they were, and the bond between them was unbreakable. They were no longer two separate beings, they were one. Tied together by the forces of nature, by the ancient power that flowed through the land. The path ahead seemed to stretch out forever, the horizon shifting with each step, but the wanderer felt no doubt, no uncertainty. They had walked this path before, in a sense, in their dreams, in the whispers of the forest. And now, they were living it, every step, taking them closer to a truth that had always been within them. The world was not what it seemed. It was more. It was alive, pulsing with energy, with forces that could not be fully understood, but only felt. And the wanderer, in that moment, felt a deep, unshakable peace, as though they were finally exactly where they were meant to be. The beast walked beside them, its massive form steady and sure, and the wanderer felt its presence, not as a threat, but as a reminder. The world was full of mysteries, full of unknowns, but that was what made it beautiful. The wanderer had come seeking answers, but in the end, they had found something more profound than they could have imagined. A connection to the earth, to the beast, and to the energy that flowed through everything. They were no longer just a wanderer lost in the world, they were a part of it, and the world was a part of them. The journey ahead would be long, and the path would be filled with challenges and uncertainties, but the wanderer felt ready. They had unlocked something ancient, something powerful, and they knew that this was only the beginning. The world, with all its mysteries and wonders, lay before them, and the beast, their companion, would be with them every step of the way. Together, they would walk forward into the unknown, guided by the ancient energy that now flowed through them both. Historians still debate what happened after that night, the night the wanderer and the beast began their journey together. Some say they continued their travels across the land, uncovering secrets hidden in the deepest corners of the world. Others believe they disappeared into the realms beyond, never to be seen again. But what is certain is that the bond between the wanderer and the beast, and the energy they had awakened, would shape the course of history, leaving behind a legacy that would be remembered for generations to come. For the wanderer, there was no more seeking, no more wondering. They had found their place in the world, and with the beast by their side, they would continue to walk. Side by side, into the vast unknown, knowing that they were part of something far greater than themselves. The journey was not over, it had only just begun. As the wanderer and the beast continued their journey, the landscape around them seemed to shift and morph, ever changing with each step they took, as though the very earth itself was moving in tandem with their progress. The path they walked was no longer defined by the limitations of their physical surroundings, but by something much deeper, something that transcended time and space. It felt as though the boundaries between realms had dissolved, and they were no longer confined to the earth they had once known. They were walking in between worlds, navigating a space that was both vast and intimate, where every step resonated with the very pulse of existence. The air around them was alive, a constant hum of energy, as if the land itself were speaking to them, urging them onward, sharing its ancient wisdom. The trees that lined their path stretched high into the sky, their branches intertwining to form an ever-present canopy above them, providing both shelter and guidance. The stars that had once seemed distant and unreachable now felt close, as though they were watching over the wanderer and the beast, lighting their way as they moved forward. It was as if the very cosmos had aligned, creating a path that could only be traveled by those who were meant to find it. The beast, walking beside the wanderer, was no longer just an animal of the wild, but a companion, a guide in its own right, carrying the wisdom of centuries in its gaze. Its presence was comforting, grounding, as if it had always been with the wanderer, even before they had met. The creature's movements were fluid and graceful, each step a testament to the harmony that had been achieved between the two. No longer was the beast a terrifying force of nature. It was a protector, a keeper of the secrets of the earth, and the wanderer had come to realize that their fates were intertwined, bound together by a force greater than either of them. As they walked, the wanderer began to notice subtle shifts in the environment. The earth beneath their feet felt softer, warmer, and the air grew thick with the scent of ancient flowers that seemed to bloom in the wake of their passing. The very land around them seemed to respond to their presence as if it were alive and aware of their journey. The world was changing, and the wanderer could feel it in their bones. The vibrations of the earth coursing through them, connecting them to something that transcended their individual existence. They were no longer just a travelay, they were part of the land, part of the energy that flowed through the earth. And they could feel the power surging within them, guiding them forward. The beast, sensing the shift in energy, let out a low rumble, a sound that resonated deep within the wanderer's chest. It was not a warning, nor a cry of fear. It was a sound of understanding, of acknowledgement. The beast too had changed. Its once ferocious nature had been tempered, its power now tempered with wisdom and purpose. The creature no longer needed to roar with force. It moved with quiet grace, its energy flowing like a river, steady and unwavering. And the wanderer, now attuned to the rhythm of the land, understood the deeper connection that had formed between them. They were not just two beings walking through the world. They were part of the earth itself, a reflection of the energy that had given birth to the world they now traversed. As the path ahead continued to unfold, the wanderer's thoughts turned inward. What had they learned? What truths had been revealed to them on this journey? At the start of their quest, they had sought answers to the questions that had haunted them for as long as they could remember. Why did the beast cry out in anguish? Why had it been cast aside, its cries deemed too loud to be tolerated? Why had the earth itself responded to their presence? These were questions that had driven the wanderer, propelling them forward through the twists and turns of their journey. But now, as they walked side by side with the beast, the answers were becoming clearer. And yet they felt an even greater mystery unfurling before them. The beast's cry had not been a sign of destruction, but of yearning, a call to be understood, to be seen. It had been cast out because its presence reminded the world of something it was not ready to confront: the deep, unacknowledged power that lay beneath the surface, the force that shaped the world but was often ignored or misunderstood. The wanderer had learned that the beast was not a monster to be feared. It was a creature of the earth, a guardian of ancient forces that had long been forgotten. And they too had learned that they were not just a traveler passing through, they were part of that power, part of the earth's living energy. Historians still debate whether the wanderer's understanding of the beast was a result of the journey they had undertaken, or if it was something they had always known, something buried deep within them. Some argue that the connection between the wanderer and the beast was a product of the forest of the energy that flowed through the land, while others believe that it was the wanderer's own inner transformation that allowed them to see the beast for what it truly was. What is certain is that the journey had led the wanderer to a deeper understanding of themselves and of the world they inhabited. The beast had been cast aside, misunderstood, but it had always been a part of the land, part of the very fabric of existence. As the wanderer walked, they felt a sense of peace that had eluded them before. The world around them no longer felt strange or foreign. It felt like home, a place where they belonged, where the energy of the earth flowed through them like a river, guiding them forward. The path ahead seemed to stretch out infinitely, but the wanderer felt no fear. There was no more uncertainty. The journey was no longer about seeking answers. It was about walking in harmony with the world, moving with the rhythm of the earth, understanding the forces that shaped everything around them. And yet as they walked, there was still a sense that there was something more, something that lay just beyond their reach, the energy that flowed through them, through the beast. And through the land itself was a reminder that the journey was ongoing, that there were still mysteries to uncover, still lessons to be learned. The world was vast, and though the wanderer had learned much, there was always more to discover, more to understand. The bond they shared with the beast, the connection to the earth, was just the beginning of a greater journey that stretched out before them. The world continued to shift and change around them, the landscape transforming as they moved forward. But the wanderer knew that they were no longer just a part of it. They'd become one with it, a reflection of the energy that had been awakened within them. Together with the beast, they would continue their journey, walking side by side, discovering the mysteries of the world, embracing the unknown, and embracing the deep, powerful connection that had been formed between them. The path ahead was still shrouded in mystery, but the wanderer no longer felt lost. They knew where they were headed, and they knew that they were not alone. The journey was far from over. It was only just beginning. The further the wanderer and the beast traveled, the more the world around them seemed to expand, as though the very earth itself was opening up to them, revealing hidden corners of its vastness. The path they walked had no clear boundaries anymore. It was a fluid, ever-shifting expanse that led them through lush forests, crossed vast plains, over towering mountains, and through mist-shrouded valleys. The land was alive, breathing in time with their steps, and every change they encountered seemed to be a natural progression of the journey they had already begun. The wanderer felt connected to the earth in a way they had never experienced before. The very air they breathed seemed infused with the energy of ancient forces, and the creatures they encountered along the way, whether birds in the sky, foxes in the underbrush, or the distant hum of a river, seemed to acknowledge their passage, as though they were all a part of something far greater than the wanderer had initially realized. The bond between the wanderer and the beast had deepened in ways that were difficult to describe. The creature, once wild and untamed, had become a steady companion, moving in perfect synchrony with the wanderer, its gaze always sharp, its steps always careful. There was a silent communication between them now, a mutual understanding that didn't need words. The beast was a protector, a guardian of the energy that had coursed through the land for eons. And the wanderer, in turn, had become attuned to that energy, learning to move with it rather than against it. They were no longer separate beings. They were part of the same living, breathing entity, intertwined by the force of nature, that they had uncovered in the temple and the chasm, and now in the very earth beneath their feet. As they continued their journey, the landscape seemed to change in response to their movements, as though the land itself was shifting to accommodate them. The trees grew taller, their trunks gnarled and ancient, their roots twisting and intertwining to form bridges over streams and pathways through dense thickets. The flowers that bloomed along their path were vibrant, their petals glowing with an inner light that seemed to mirror the energy within the wanderer. It was as if the world was unfolding itself just for them, revealing its most sacred places, its hidden powers, in a way that only they could comprehend. Historians argue about the significance of this bond between the wanderer and the beast. Some believe that the wanderer's connection to the earth and the creature was the result of an ancient pact, one that had been made long before the wanderer even set foot in the forest. Others believe it was the culmination of the wanderer's journey, a deep connection formed through their trials, their experiences, and their understanding of the world around them. Some even suggest that the beast itself had chosen the wanderer, that it had recognized something within them, something that had been waiting to be awakened. But no matter what the truth may be, one thing is certain: the connection was real. The wanderer had become one with the land, with the energy that pulsed beneath it, and with the creature that had once been cast aside, feared, and misunderstood. But as they walked, the wanderer began to sense something else, something new, something that was beginning to stir deep within the heart of the land. It was a subtle feeling at first, a vibration that they could almost feel in the air, like a distant hum that resonated with the pulse of the earth. The beast, too, seemed to sense it, its head tilting slightly, its nostrils flaring as it sniffed the air. The path ahead, which had once seemed endless and infinite, felt more focused, more directed, as though they were heading towards something that awaited them. The closer they drew to this unknown destination, the more the energy around them intensified. The trees began to thin, their branches twisting into strange shapes, their leaves rustling with a sound that seemed more like a whispered song than the wind moving through them. The air grew thicker, heavier, as though the very atmosphere were charged with power. The ground beneath them seemed to hum with an intensity that matched the energy building in the atmosphere, and the wanderer could feel their heart beating in time with it. The path ahead was no longer a gentle walk through the land. It had become a march toward something that was waiting for them, something that could not be ignored. The beast, moving silently beside them, let out a low, steady growl. It was not a sound of fear, but of recognition. It was as though it knew what was coming, as though it had felt this energy before, perhaps even in the distant past, before it had been cast aside. The wanderer, sensing the beast's unease, placed a hand on its massive shoulder, feeling the deep, resonating thrum of its pulse. There was something about this place, this moment, that felt different, like a force that had been waiting for them to arrive. And the wanderer understood, with a sudden clarity, that this was not just a destination, it was a beginning. As they moved forward, the landscape around them began to open up, revealing a vast, open space, unlike anything the wanderer had ever seen. It was a place where the boundaries between worlds seemed to dissolve, where the very fabric of reality felt thin, fragile. The sky above was dark, but instead of stars, there were swirling clouds of light, glowing with an inner fire that seemed to pulse with the rhythm of the earth's heartbeat. The air was thick with the scent of something ancient, something primal, and the wanderer could feel it filling their lungs. The energy of the land rushing through them, through their very blood. The beast moved ahead, its steps confident, and the wanderer followed, their heart racing with anticipation. The closer they got to the center of the space, the more they could feel the pull of the energy, as though it were calling them, beckoning them to step forward into the unknown. And when they reached the center, the ground beneath their feet shifted. A low rumble passing through the earth as the very land seemed to respond to their presence. The air crackled with energy, and the wanderer felt their skin tingle, their senses heightened, as if they were standing on the threshold of something immense. In the center of the clearing stood a massive stone structure, ancient and worn by the passage of time. It was not like the temple they had visited before. It was larger, grander. Its presence seemed to hum with the power of the earth itself. The carvings that covered its surface were unlike any the wanderer had seen before, intricate, layered with symbols that seemed to shift and change with every glance. It was a monument to something old, something powerful. And as the wanderer stood before it, they could feel the weight of history pressing down on them. The very essence of the earth's past rushing through them. The beast stepped forward, its massive form moving with reverence, its eyes fixed on the stone. The wanderer, too, moved closer, their hand outstretched toward the monument, feeling the energy that flowed through it. The ground trembled beneath their feet, and for a moment, the world seemed to pause. And then, as if by some unseen force, the stone began to glow, its carvings lighting up with an ethereal light, and the energy in the air surged. Historians argue over the meaning of this place, over what the structure truly represents. But one thing is clear: it is the heart of the earth, the source of the energy that has shaped the world for eons. The wanderer and the beast had come to unlock the final secret, to discover the true nature of the world and to understand their place within it. And in that moment, as the light from the monument washed over them, the wanderer knew with absolute certainty that the journey had reached its end, and yet it had only just begun. As the light from the glowing stone enveloped them, the wanderer felt the world shift beneath their feet. Not in the way one might expect, but with the sense of an immense power being unlocked. A kind of tremor that resonated from the core of the earth. The beast beside them, standing tall and steady, was unmoving, its presence a constant, its eyes locked on the monument with an intensity that spoke of recognition, of ancient knowledge coming to the surface. The wanderer, hands still outstretched toward the stone, felt a surge of energy course through their body, a rush so intense that it threatened to overwhelm them, but at the same time it was grounding, centering. This was not a force to be feared, but a force to be understood, embraced. As the stone pulsed with light, the wanderer's vision blurred for a moment, the edges of their sight becoming distorted, as though they were being pulled from one reality into another. They felt themselves slipping, their bodies swaying with the rhythm of the world around them, and then, just as quickly, the sensation of falling stopped. Instead, they were standing still, solid, but not in the clearing anymore. The landscape had changed, the stone monument was gone, and the world around them felt different. They were no longer standing in the vast open space of the clearing. Now they were in a place shrouded in mist, the air thick with energy, and the ground beneath them felt ancient, worn by time, just like the monument had been. The beast was still by their side, but it too had transformed. Its form was larger now, more imposing, but there was something gentle about the creature's energy. It moved with purpose, but with a deep understanding, its movements purposeful yet slow, as though it had long awaited this moment. The wanderer looked around, and though the surroundings were unfamiliar, they could sense the presence of something ancient, something beyond the fabric of time and space. They were no longer in the world they had once known, but in a place where time had no meaning, where the very air hummed with energy older than anything they could comprehend. The mist that surrounded them began to shift, swirling in patterns that seemed deliberate, as if they were being shown the path to take, the next step on their journey. And though the path was invisible, the wanderer knew deep in their bones that it was there, that it led somewhere significant. They could feel the pull of it, a guiding force that tugged at them, urging them to move forward. Historians argue whether this was a dream or a new realm that the wanderer had entered. Some say it was a manifestation of the power that had been awakened in the wanderer, a vision of a place where the boundaries between the known and the unknown no longer existed. Others believe that the wanderer had crossed into a spiritual plane, one where the energy of the earth converged with the energy of the cosmos, a place where all things were possible. The truth, as always, is hidden, woven into the fabric of the journey itself. But what is certain is that the wanderer was not the same person they had been when they first set out on this path. The beast began to move, its powerful limbs carrying it effortlessly through the mist. And the wanderer, now with a sense of calm certainty, followed. They no longer questioned their steps, no longer wondered where the path would lead. Every step felt like the natural progression of their journey, and though they had no idea what lay ahead, they knew that it was exactly where they needed to be. The landscape was shifting, the mist clearing to reveal flashes of something more. Trees that seemed to shimmer with a light that was not of this world, stones that glowed faintly as if they contained the very essence of the earth itself. As they moved forward, the air grew denser, filled with the hum of the earth's energy. The wanderer could feel it deep in their chest, resonating with their heartbeat. There was a vibration in the air, in the earth, in the sky itself. The world was speaking to them, and for the first time they understood its language. The bond between them and the beast had grown stronger, and the wanderer no longer felt like a mere traveler. They were a part of this world, now connected to it in a way that transcended the boundaries of time and space. In the distance, a light appeared, a faint glow on the horizon, and the wanderer felt a pull toward it. A sense that they were nearing the end of their journey, or perhaps the beginning of a new chapter. The light was brighter now, pulsing with the same rhythm that had guided them all along. The beast, now walking beside them with its head held high, seemed to be aware of the importance of this moment. Its pace quickened as it drew closer to the light, and the wanderer, sensing the urgency, followed suit. The path ahead grew clearer, the mist beginning to recede as they approached the source of the light. The air felt charged, crackling with energy, and the earth beneath their feet seemed to hum with power. The wanderer could feel the weight of the moment pressing down on them, but instead of fear, there was a deep sense of peace. They had arrived at this moment not by chance, but by design. Everything had led them here to this place, to this time, to this moment. And then as they reached the light, the ground before them opened up, revealing a vast expanse of world unlike any they had ever known. The sky above was not dark, but filled with swirling patterns of light, stars, and cosmic energy that seemed to pulse with life. The ground beneath their feet was smooth, like polished stone, but it felt alive, as though it was responding to their presence. The landscape stretched out before them, vast and endless, filled with mountains that rose like giants in the distance, rivers that shimmered like liquid silver, and forests that seemed to hum with the energy of the earth. The beast, standing beside the wanderer, let out a low, resonating sound. and the wanderer knew that they had reached their destination. This was not just a place, it was the beginning of something much larger. It was a world of infinite possibilities, a world where the energies of the earth and the cosmos intertwined, a place where the wanderer could not only understand the past but also shape the future. Historians still argue about the nature of the world the wanderer entered. Some say it was a realm beyond time, a place where all things were possible. Others believe it was the manifestation of the earth's ancient power, a place where the forces of nature could be harnessed and shaped by those who understood them. Whatever the truth may be, one thing is clear. The wanderer had stepped into a new reality, one where they were no longer an outsider, but a part of the world's grand design. And as the wanderer took the first step into this new world, the beast by their side, they understood that the journey was far from over. This was only the beginning. The world around them was vast, filled with mysteries and energies beyond comprehension, and they had only just begun to unlock its secrets. The wanderer's journey, the journey of the beast, had become one intertwined, bound by the forces of nature, by the very pulse of the earth. Together they would continue, side by side, exploring this new world, uncovering its mysteries and shaping its future. As the wanderer took that first step into the unknown world, they felt the weight of the energy that surrounded them, not as a burden, but as a force to be embraced. The air was thicker now, charged with an ethereal presence, and with each step they took, the land seemed to respond, the very ground beneath them humming with anticipation. The path they were on, though not physically visible, felt as though it stretched endlessly in front of them, a vast expanse full of untapped potential. The sky above shifted, the swirling lights in the heavens pulsating in rhythm with their heartbeat, as if the universe itself was acknowledging their presence. The beast, ever by their side, moved with them, its movements calm and steady, its powerful frame casting a shadow over the land. It no longer felt like an animal in the traditional sense, no longer a creature that could be categorized or understood by any single definition. The beast now seemed to be part of the very landscape, its form an extension of the energy that had been awakened both within it and within the wanderer. The bond between them was palpable, tangible, as though they were two halves of a whole, drawn together by forces far beyond their comprehension. It was not merely companionship that tied them together. It was something deeper, a cosmic connection that defied the boundaries of time, space, and existence itself. With every step forward, the landscape around them became more defined, the initial blur of light and mist giving way to clearer shapes. Towering trees with trunks that seemed to reach beyond the heavens appeared before them, their branches intertwining in a magnificent display of nature's artistry. The roots of these trees, like veins in the earth's skin, spread outward, seemingly grounding the very fabric of the world. The wanderer could feel it, the living, breathing pulse of the planet, alive beneath their feet, in the air they inhaled, in every moment that passed. The land was not dead or stagnant. It was alive, a being unto itself, evolving, shifting, and flowing in concert with the heartbeat of the universe. They passed through dense forests and expansive fields, their steps taking them farther into the heart of the world, a place where the divide between the physical realm and the spiritual realm was razor thin, where everything was interconnected. The wanderer felt more attuned to this place than any place they had ever known, more alive, as if every part of them was in sync with the rhythm of the land. The further they walked, the more they began to understand that this was not just a new world. They had crossed into a new state of being, one where the forces of nature were no longer something to be feared, but something to be understood, embraced, and channeled. The beast walked with purpose, its every move radiating an innate understanding of this land, as though it were born from it, as though it had always been here, guarding its mysteries. The wanderer could feel the weight of that understanding, even if they could not yet fully comprehend it. It was as if the beast was silently guiding them, showing them the way, helping them see beyond the surface, revealing the threads of energy that connected everything in this world. The bond between them was not just physical, it was emotional, spiritual, and as the wanderer felt it, cosmic. With each step, the wanderer began to see flashes of images, glimpses of the past, of the land's history, the ancient civilizations that had once called this place home, the beings who had walked these paths long before them. Their spirits now part of the very fabric of the land. The trees whispered the stories of forgotten times, their leaves rustling with the voices of those who had passed. The wind carried with it the echoes of ancient songs, songs that the wanderer felt they recognized, but could not quite place, as if the memories were buried deep within their soul. It was all here, all around them, waiting to be uncovered, waiting to be understood. The deeper they went into the heart of this world, the more they felt that the journey was not just one of discovery, but of transformation. They were changing, evolving, and the world around them was changing with them. The boundaries between themselves and the land, between themselves and the beast, between themselves and the universe, began to blur. They were no longer just a wanderer in a strange land. They were becoming part of it, an extension of its energy, a being who had been awakened by the forces that had always been here. And then, as they ventured deeper into the heart of the land, they came upon a vast lake, its surface so still that it reflected the sky above perfectly, as though the lake were a mirror to the cosmos. The trees that surrounded it seemed to lean inward, their branches forming an archway, guiding the wanderer toward the water's edge. The air was cool here, and the ground soft, the earth alive with the gentle hum of energy that resonated from the lake itself. The beast stepped forward, its eyes fixed on the water, and the wanderer followed, their gaze also drawn to the shimmering surface of the lake. Historians still debate the significance of the lake. Some say it is a portal, a passage to another realm, while others believe it is the embodiment of the Earth's consciousness, a reflection of the universe's true nature. What is certain is that the lake is not a mere body of water. It is a living, breathing entity in its own right, and the wanderer, standing at its edge, could feel its power, its presence deep within their chest, like a pulse steady and constant. The beast standing beside them let out a low rumble, and the wanderer felt that familiar sense of connection deepen, as though the lake itself was acknowledging them, recognizing them as a part of the land, as a part of something greater. The wanderer knelt at the water's edge, their fingers brushing the surface of the lake. The water was cool and smooth, but as their skin touched it, a ripple spread across the surface, and for a brief moment, the world around them seemed to fade. The stars above flickered, and the land around them seemed to dissolve, as though they had crossed into a different realm entirely. For a moment, there was nothing but the sensation of pure energy, the feeling of being part of everything, of being one with the cosmos. The wanderer could feel the weight of eternity pressing down on them, and yet there was no fear, only peace. And then, as quickly as it had begun, the sensation faded. The world around them returned to its familiar form, the trees, the sky, the beast, all present once more. But the wanderer knew something had changed, something profound, something that could not be undone. They had glimpsed the true nature of the world, the deep, intricate web of energy that connected everything, and they had understood their place within it. The lake, with its still surface, had shown them that the journey was not just about discovery, it was about transformation. It was about becoming part of the very energy that powered the world. The beast, standing beside them, let out a deep, satisfied growl, and the wanderer, feeling the shift in the air, stood. They understood now. The journey was not over. It had only just begun. The lake was just one part of the world's greater mystery, and they had much to learn, much to experience. But they were no longer alone. They were part of something larger, something that had always been there, waiting for them to understand it. The bond between the wanderer and the beast had grown stronger, and together they stepped away from the lake, their path now clear. The world around them was vast, but it was no longer an unknown. They were no longer wandering aimlessly. They had found their place, and with that knowledge, they could continue their journey side by side into the heart of the world. Historians, legends, and myth will remember the wanderer and the beast, their journey intertwined with the ancient forces that shaped the earth. What they discovered, no one can truly say. But what is known is that the journey had been one of understanding, of transformation, and of embracing the power of the land, of the energy that flows through all things. The wanderer had not just uncovered the truth about the beast, they had uncovered the truth about themselves. And in doing so, had unlocked the very energy that powered the universe itself. As the wanderer and the beast continued their journey through the vast, ever-changing landscape, the world around them seemed too quiet. The frenetic energy that had once pulsed in the air now fading into a calm stillness. The light of the stars above dimmed, slightly casting the surroundings in a soft, almost surreal glow, and for the first time in what felt like an eternity, the wanderer felt the weight of the journey, both the distance traveled and the transformation they had undergone settled gently in their chest. The earth beneath their feet was now no longer just the land of a distant world, but a familiar companion, as comforting as the creature beside them. The bond between them had deepened, not in the way one might expect through words or actions, but through quiet understanding. Through the shared experience of walking through the ever-shifting paths of life and nature, there was no longer a need for words between them. No need to express what had been learned or understood. It was all clear now. The wanderer had become part of this world, part of the land, part of the energy that flowed beneath it, and the beast, once an enigma, had become not just a guide, but a reflection of the very essence of the world. They had entered. The wanderer's steps had become lighter. The weight of their journey not a burden, but a quiet song that resonated within them. A melody of life, of learning, of growth. And though the journey was far from over, there was a sense that it was time to pause. Time to reflect on what had been discovered. The questions that had once driven the wanderer, the search for answers that seemed to stretch endlessly into the unknown, had led them here, to this place where the world and the beast had finally revealed their true nature. There was no more need for frantic searching, no more need to strain against the current of life. The wanderer had learned to flow with it, to become part of it. And as they stood still for a moment, taking in the sight of the land that stretched out before them, there was a deep, resonating peace that filled their soul. The forest around them, now softened in the light of the stars, was no longer a place of mystery to be solved, but a home to be nurtured. The trees, the streams, the sky, and the ground beneath them were all alive in a way that the wanderer had never fully understood until now. Everything had its place, its purpose, its role in the greater web of existence. Creatures, the plants, the stones, they were all threads in this grand tapestry, woven together in an intricate pattern that had always been there, waiting to be seen. The wanderer was no longer an outsider, no longer searching for meaning in the world. They had found it not in the distant corners of the earth, but in the quiet spaces between the stars, in the ancient energy that had always been present, flowing through everything and everyone. The beast, too, seemed to share in this quiet understanding. Its eyes, glowing softly in the dim light, were no longer filled with the ancient hunger and confusion that had once marked its presence. Instead, they were filled with a wisdom that the wanderer could now truly appreciate. The creature had always known this truth, had always been a part of the land's energy, and now, together, they stood as one, united not just in body, but in spirit, in understanding. The bond they shared, once forged in the fires of fear and misunderstanding, had grown into something far deeper, something that could never be broken. As the wind gently rustled the leaves above them, the wanderer felt the pull of the earth once more, the quiet hum of energy beneath the ground. And in that moment, they knew that their journey was not about reaching a single destination. It was about understanding the flow of life itself, about embracing the rhythm of the world, of letting go of the need to control every step, every moment. The path ahead, though still shrouded in mystery, no longer felt daunting. It's simply the next part of the journey, the next chapter in a story that had no end, only an ever-evolving present. In the stillness of that moment, the wanderer allowed themselves to breathe deeply, feeling the energy of the earth fill their lungs, the pulse of life echoing in their chest. And for the first time since they had begun their journey, they felt at peace. There was no need to rush forward anymore, no need to search for answers in every corner of the world. The answers were already inside them, already woven into the fabric of their being. They were part of this world, part of the great web of life that connected all things. And in that realization, there was no more hunger, no more searching, just the quiet peace of acceptance. The journey would continue, of course. The path ahead was still unknown, still filled with the mystery and wonder that had always marked the wanderer's life. But now, the wanderer understood something they hadn't before. It wasn't the destination that mattered, it was the journey itself. The way the earth shifted and flowed, the way the world transformed with each step they took. They had been a part of it all along, just as the beast had been, just as every living thing on the earth had been. The wanderer now saw the world as one interconnected force, one vast living being that pulsed with energy. And they were no longer an outsider. They were an extension of that energy, a part of the flow, a thread in the great tapestry of existence. And so, as they stood together in the quiet of the night, the wanderer felt a final wave of understanding wash over them, a sense of calm and peace that had eluded them for so long. The path ahead was not one to fear. It was simply another step in the journey, and with the beast by their side, they knew they could walk it with certainty. The world was vast, and the mysteries of the universe stretched out before them like an open field. But now they understood that they had always been a part of it, and that understanding would carry them forward, side by side with the beast, into whatever came next. The earth beneath their feet hummed softly as if in agreement, and the wanderer knew deep in their soul that their journey was far from over. It was just beginning again.